Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline is ESPN women's basketball bracketologist Charlie Creme. Charlie, nice to have you back on the show. Especially nice that BYU is a 9 seed in your latest projection, so thanks for doing that so we have something good to talk about.
Well, hey, it's not really any work I did, guys. I kind of follow a bouncing ball. But, no, BYU's had a really nice season, a season that's maybe surprised me a little bit. I didn't have them really on the map in preseason, so this emergence and being placed as a 9 seed right now is something that I didn't see back in November.
Charlie, what's your life like on a day-to-day basis right now as you wind down in the very intense college basketball season and so many moving parts are changing things literally by the minute when it comes to primetime?
Well, I'll say this. Last night was a good example of kind of how it starts to shake out this time of year. I had, in my office at home, I had a game on my iPad and was flipping back and forth between two games on TV, and all the while had my sheets in front of me and my email going. So I was trying to email the producers of the shows at the SEC network, so the host could have the information as the games changed. And when the early games, Kentucky and South Carolina, ended, that shifted things a little bit. And then Tennessee and Missouri after that shifted things even a little bit more. Then waiting for the Gonzaga game last night to end to, maybe tweak something here. So it was kind of everything was rotating all at once. And nothing major changed last night, but just enough to keep the discussion points hot and up to the minute.
BYU is the number 9, as we mentioned. They've beaten number 13 Gonzaga not once but twice, which is pretty incredible. And that's part of the reason they're probably in the bracket. But I want to ask this. RPI, they got rid of that in men's hoops. They used net. RPI still exists in women's basketball, though. So does it still have kind of the same role that it's always had in bracketology?
It does. It's about using that RPI to kind of get a sense of teams for the committee, and then they're able to sort of group teams and bracket teams based on that, and then they kind of start looking at the information on a little bit more granular level as they start to compare groups of teams together. And that's kind of what I do as well. But I also look at since RPI has been used for so long, and even though committee members change, that has been a foundation. I look at historical RPI data to try to apply to some level of what's going on that particular season. And in the case of BYU, it would be extremely rare, not unheard of, but rare for a team in the 20s in the RPI to be left out of the tournament. I wouldn't necessarily mean to say that BYU is absolutely 100% safe right now, but it lends itself to a decent probability that BYU will end up, as long as disaster doesn't strike toward the end of the regular season, will end up in the field.
And BYU's number 26 currently.
What does BYU need to do to assure themselves? And you say avoid disaster. Like, how can they? What's the minimum to avoid disaster and get in the tournament?
Well, since there's 3 regular season games left, don't help them at all. They can only hurt them. So when I say avoid disaster, I mean don't lose any of these 3 games coming up. They're playing kind of the mid to lower teams in the WCC. Don't trip up, and essentially any losses from now to the end of the regular season would, in some effect, negate one of the Gonzaga wins. Don't want to do that if they want to make the field, and then be reasonable in the WCC tournament. Make the semis, I think, probably would be the minimum as long as they win these next 3 games. If they were to lose one of them, then maybe to be safe, they'd have to at least reach the final of the WCC tournament.
Charlie Creme, ESPN women's basketball bracketologist with us on BYU Sports Nation. The Cougars go from 3 spots out to in as a firm number 9 seed with that road win at Gonzaga. Let's say BYU doesn't lose again this season. They win their final 3 WCC contests, in which they will be favored, and then they win 2 games in Vegas and take the title there. What's the best case scenario? What kind of a seed would BYU earn if they did run the table?
I think they could theoretically get to a 7, which would, moving up to an 8 would not really matter much in the grand scheme of things. But I think they could probably, with all of that, get to a 7. It would hinge a little bit on what else happens. in the rest of the country. Some of those teams that they're dealing with in those spots, teams like North Carolina, UCLA, Michigan, Michigan State, they might have to fall back a little bit in order for BYU to elevate two seed lines like that. But those are the teams that, as Cougar fans, I would be kind of watching to see how they're doing. And for instance, BYU got helped last night in sort of their being a more solid member of the field with losses by teams like Clemson, Michigan State, and Tennessee. That helps. And that's the kind of thing that will also need to occur on some level for BYU to elevate as high as maybe a 7.
Charlie, thanks for fitting us into your demanding, busy schedule. We wish you much rejoicing and watching a lot of college basketball over the next few weeks.
I love it. I can't wait for it to even get hotter, and you guys enjoy it as well.